Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today for Security Awareness. By now, everyone's seen the steps. Cybercrime is larger than all other forms of organized crime put together, and this is a trend that's been going on for a very long time at this point. What's happening now in the current environment, though, a common tactic used by the bad actors is to hijack whatever is going on in the news. If it's tax season, there's scams around tax season. Around the holidays, scams around the holidays. During the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, there's been an unprecedented uptick in cyber attacks going on and phishing scams and a whole bunch of other threats. So we had originally planned this as part of our standard cybersecurity training, and with the big uptick in events right now, it's more timely than ever. So as coronavirus forces millions of people to work from home who aren't ready to work from home, uh, there's kind of a tipping point in people working from home. Many people had to make the adjustment very hastily, weren't prepared. There's some security considerations that come into play for that. And at the same time, people are really profoundly scared. So if you've been in a supermarket recently, you understand how fear can really lead to some very strange behaviors. So people are scared. All of these things come together, making people working from home, people being very scared, and a huge surge in cyber threats kind of creates a perfect storm for things that are going on right now. And the cyber criminals have swept in to take advantage of coronavirus. There's a lot of email scams that we're going to go through right now. They can contain malware, they could be phishing attempts. We're going to go through some of the different examples. I also want to let you know that ransomware attacks are on the rise as well. So in addition to all the challenges that hospitals are facing just trying to care for people, do what they're supposed to do, they're also in some cases getting shut down by ransomware attacks, which is absolutely terrible. Here's an example of one of the scams that's coming around via email. This is an email screenshot. It's a fake that's presumably from the World Health Organization. And in fact, it's a fake. There's a lot of these going around. I'm going to go through a bunch of different examples. But if one of your scared employees who's maybe working remotely for the first time and can't just pop their head out of the door and say, hey, is this a real email or not? You can imagine how the risk of clicking on these emails has just gone way up. There's a surge in the threats. Folks are way more likely to click on these things, and people are acting in a state of fear. They want to get information from the World Health Organization. But this is an example of a fake. There's also an unprecedented wave of coronavirus scams. There's undelivered goods. There's fake test kits that are being presented to folks via email, fake charities to help people. These can come in via text messages. These can also come into robocalls and a massive amount of malicious emails. I'm a member of FBI InfraGard, and I'm getting alerts multiple times a day of different threats that are coming through. So this is something to talk to your staff about. You can see the headlines. Krebs on Security just had a recent post about there's a fake coronavirus map that's circulating around. The real one from Johns Hopkins University is fine. The fake one contains malware. There's also there was a cyber attack on a Czech hospital that delayed care. So one of the realities of any cyber attacks in any climate outside of the crazy times that we're living in is that all businesses, regardless of size, are at risk. I have a lot of conversations with SMBs. A lot of folks think that, hey, we're small, we're under the radar. Only a tiny percent of cyber attacks are actually targeted attacks. The vast majority of things that come through are just blanket attacks. Majority of cyber criminals are indiscriminate, and 95% of all credit card breaches are on the tiniest customers. One of the reasons that small businesses are prime targets is generally small businesses only spend a small part of their annual budget on IT. Small businesses can't afford $40,000 firewalls, and that's not what you need for an appropriate small business firewall. But you can't get the enterprise level stuff. Generally in-house, you don't have the IT skill, aging equipment, unpatched devices, SMB owners wear many hats, can't focus on security. There's a long list of this. At Ikaru, we work exclusively with small businesses, and there's lots of ways that you can come up with affordable things to do, many things that you can do to greatly increase your cybersecurity. Many things you can do to increase your cybersecurity are actually free. So we're going to go through, and one of the things, education, just making your team aware. If you can just show the many different scams that we're showing today to your team, at least they're aware that the scams are out there. They're far less likely to click on something dangerous. So in terms of the things that are out there, there's fake cures for COVID-19. There's phishing emails. I showed you one from the World Health Organization. There's also a number of them from the CDC, malicious websites, people seeking donations, medical providers getting information on COVID-19 testing, et cetera. There's also fraud that's being done in the midst of all this to be aware of. The WHO has seen a big increase in the attempted cyber attacks on their own organization. Sad, but this is the reality of the organized crime behind this. I am just getting a message from Nancy that there was an audio problem. I'm hoping that everybody can hear me. This will be recorded, and if we have to re-record it, we will. So here's an example of an email that might be coming to one of your employees' inbox right now. And this is an example, courtesy of Trend Micro, that captured this. It's an email that talks about this was one from February, but talking about the emerging crisis. This disease is coming out. You can imagine that people are hungry for news right now. They might click on this email. It takes one person in your organization to click on an email that could potentially take down the entire organization. This is a fake message. This is an example from the CDC. Again, it looks like it contains a lot of detailed technical information. If you've been on our webinars in the past, the website that's listed on an email, that can be faked. It can go to anything. This is just text. And what's behind that link in the email could be anything. You need to be aware of that. That's a common tactic. As soon as you and your employees are aware that that's an easy trick to pull, you're far less likely to click on a link like that. The fake coronavirus map can put actual malware on Android phones that can spy on you through the camera. Again, being aware of what the different tricks are, being aware that there's a fake map circulating out there will make people think twice. And that's the name of the game here, is think before you click. So look out for emails, phishing emails. Look out for emails that are asking you for any personal information in order to get economic stimulus checks. Again, the government doesn't send out unsolicited emails, so if you get one, it's most likely a fake. Watch out for charitable contributions, general financial release, airline carrier refunds. A lot of people had to cancel plans. You may be expecting to hear back from an airline, but the bad actors know this, and they're going to piggyback on that, and there's a surge of phishing emails that are related to ticket refunds, et cetera, fake cures, fake vaccines, fake testing kits, et cetera. There's also, now with so many people working at home, something to be aware of, that if you're using the free version of Zoom, your calls are not as private as you think they are. The Consumer Reports article came out this week talking about that. Something to be aware of. Again, a lot of people displaced, had to rapidly make plans to work remotely. Just as an FYI, any nonprofits, healthcare organizations, and municipalities, if you know anybody, we can get them set up with a 90-day emergency work from home kit from LogMeIn, and that has the full security settings in place. Just FYI. Another thing for folks working from home is just to be aware, even as you place these calls, to don't use the same link every time. This is a handout from NIST that talks about security of these conference calls. So again, a lot of people don't use the free version of Zoom, and check out how, if you're having any real calls or say attorneys' offices or any medical offices, you want to be aware of using a unique link each time, etc. And this handout, you can download this. It goes through how to increase the security on your calls. In terms of, we've actually gotten a lot of calls from medical offices looking to do telemedicine. The government reduce their restrictions on reimbursement. So, and ironically, I worked in telemedicine during the dot-com days. I thought for sure this is the killer app for the internet. This medicine is what needs innovation, and where the internet's really going to make a big difference. 20 years later, they're finally allowing reimbursements. But again, I have a link here for on GoToMeeting, how to do this in a HIPAA compliant fashion. So again, everybody's trying to help people in multiple different ways. Just be aware of security as you go through this. Here's a fake CDC alert. Again, your employees hungry for information. This looks very legitimate. It has an appropriate email header, has a level of detail. Again, the link that you see can be absolutely fake. That could be going anywhere. If you hover over it, it will actually show you where it's going. Never click on this stuff. If you're curious, don't click on it. But if you hover over it, you can reveal where the link actually goes to. Again, warn your people. Just because it says cdc.gov does not at all mean that link actually goes there. And here's another one, safety measures. That sounds important, right? Again, folks hungry for information are far more likely to click on this stuff, and there's a much higher volume of it circulating at the moment. So be aware of this. Just trying to show some different examples. Again, just being aware that they exist will reduce your chances of clicking. And here's another variation on that. This is from Human Resources, and this is a workplace policy email. You could think people, everybody's trying to figure this out. How do you work remotely? What are essential services? What aren't? What are the rules? People are highly likely to click on this stuff. Okay, another thing that's going around is fake personal protection information. So this is other information sent out by the government that if you are ordering, if your line of work requires you to order this kind of equipment, watch out for, there's a long list of bad actors setting up fake websites. You're going to get counterfeit stuff, or you're going to get stuff that's never going to get delivered. Just be super careful ordering this equipment. Order from reliable sources that you've used in the past, known vendors. Watch out for a multitude of fake sites that are out there. Oops, I skipped one. I think here's a fake QuickBooks notification. This actually came to our own inbox here. Again, it's people working online. This says, this could look like a real thing. Gee, QuickBooks account notification. We're upgrading account security. That sounds really important. We want to make sure, log in here to make sure you don't avoid or wind up with a payment cancellation. So again, and the way social engineering works is, let's say somebody gets this message and they forward it to the person who's responsible for finances. Now that person in their inbox is going to have a message that looks like it's a legit message, because at that point it's coming from a reliable source. And if you remember, we circulated information about this a while ago. Barbara Corcoran's office fell for this, where there was a spoofed message from her assistant to her finance person with a fake invoice. So these are the same old tricks that have been going on all the time. It's just that now the bad actors kind of shift gears and ride on the news that's current right now. Be aware, and this one's kind of crazy, but there's actually a fake Corona antivirus website that's out there that folks could fall for. It might sound like a catchy marketing name right now, but it looks very slick. People might think, hey, this is a new level of antivirus protection. It's a total fake. So kind of circling back to Cybersecurity 101, phishing's a method of gathering information using deceptive emails and website. And as we've seen, there's a whole host of new ones that have popped up over the last couple of weeks. Remember that the city of Atlanta got hit with ransomware. Ransomware is kind of the worst thing that can happen to your organization in terms of a cyber attack. They were shut down. It took them about 18 months to even get mostly operational again and cost them $27 million. So this is not a joke. These ransomware attacks that are commonly delivered through email, about 90% of cyber threats come through email, will shut down an organization. Imagine what $27 million could have done for schools and roads and other things. This is what it looks like. So ransomware means your files are all taken hostage. A very common question that we get, one is, well, gee, my data is not important to a hacker. Why would they come back after, come for my 10-person small business? It doesn't matter how important the data is to them. It's really about how important it is to you, because your business will not be operational. And these are really scary to receive. With a robust backup, disaster recovery, you can get back into place again, but 90% of these attacks are going to come through email. We often talk about having defense in layers. So there's a lot of times we get asked, oh, well, what's the one thing I need to do to be secure? One, there's no such thing as 100% security. And two, it's really the layers, defense in layers, that will protect you. So security updates, email security, strong passwords, user training like this, just a simple conversation, maybe showing a couple of those fake emails to your staff will greatly reduce the likelihood that they're actually going to click on one. Antivirus, firewall, encryption, backup, all of these things are extremely important. And it's working together like the layers of bulletproof glass that actually protect you. So that foundation has to be there. And how do threats get through? Well, they're coming through via email. Just a quick recap on what the dark web is. You have the surface web, which is all the stuff you're used to using on a day-by-day basis. The deep web, that's stuff that's protected with passwords, academic records, medical records, financial records, anything that you need to have that requires secure access to get to. The dark web is something you couldn't just stumble upon. You need special tools to get there. But that's where all the really bad stuff happens. And this is an example of credentials being on sale. So again, all these different things kind of coming together. You can imagine with employees working from home right now, if you have weak passwords and suddenly you've opened the doors a little bit for more remote work, those weak passwords are going to come back. This may be hard to read on the screen, but there are sites on the dark web where folks just buy and sell credentials to a whole host of different places. On this one, they have 44 credentials available for Target, available for $10 each. They have 37 credentials available for $10 each on eBay. So just like you go out on the web and you do legitimate business, there's a whole industry of organized crime doing this stuff on the dark web. So again, back to basics, making sure that you have strong passwords, unique passwords. This is just free. This is behavior. Do not store your passwords in a way that's not secure, not on a keyboard, not on, not on your monitor. Use different passwords. This is why we recommend password managers, because it's almost impossible. Average person has something like 80 different sets of credentials. There's no way you can remember all of them. So a password manager comes into play. But now is a good time to make sure nobody's remoting into your office with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a chart that just shows how easy it is to crack passwords. The longer the password is, the length of the password, and the mixture of numbers, uppercase, letters, etc., is what helps it be stronger to crack. There's also timeout policies, etc. Don't store your passwords in your browser. If you ever want to see if somebody ever got a hold of your system or could get on, if you go into Google Chrome, you can try this. If you click on the 3 dots, and then actually some of these moved, but you want to go to more tools, you can actually reveal what all your passwords are on there, and you can see them in plain text. So that's kind of a scary thing. And I like to show this a lot, but one of the outcomes of breaches that's important is sometimes they'll show a list of the most popular passwords. So if you see your password on this list, change it right away. These are the most popular passwords in the world. There's different breaches, like different breaches come up with maybe a slightly different list, but you can see your names of your children, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 through 9, thinking they're more secure by adding a couple of digits. Those will be cracked instantaneously. Social engineering, really important to remember, and there's a concept in security known as the human firewall. So that's, with all the defenses in place, at this point, people have firewalls, they've got security patches, they're doing all that stuff. And that's why the threats have really moved into email and social engineering. That fake CDC update, the fake health information from the World Health Organization. They figure out other ways to get it through. This is what a fake email looked like years ago. They were laughable by today's standards. The dates don't match. They're saying this is payroll data, so you can imagine somebody gets this email in the inbox. They think, wow, I've got the payroll report. Love to know what's in there. And they click on it thinking they have something secret that they're not supposed to have, right? It's clickbait, it's enticing. Payroll company would not, it says it's being sent by Dropbox, which is a very popular convenience tool, but no way would a payroll company put a payroll file in there. And it doesn't even match. It's Cubby, which was the old Mozy competitor to Dropbox. There's no signature. So this one's pretty easy to spot, but it has a high clickbait potential for people who are just curious about looking at that report. This one won't fly right now. This is hotels.com. People are not traveling, right? So the bad actors shift. They're not sending out a coupon to hotels.com, but boy, does this look really slick. If you look very carefully up on the upper left-hand side, you can see it's not coming from hotels.com. It's coming from hotels.com at some other domain name. But if you're planning a trip, like, why not get the $50 off? Book now. It looks like a great deal. Again, the bad actors adapt to the times. This one will be back. It'll take a while, but this one will be back. Here's another one from the Apple Store. It's a fake invoice. Again, this one was timed around the holidays when people are doing a lot of buying. Again, hijacking the times. You may think, oh, geez, somebody got a hold of my credit card and they bought this, or maybe my kids bought something they weren't supposed to. And it just, with the social engineering, it triggers you to want to take action right away. Again, with the stores closed, this one's less likely to work right now, but again, it's going to be back. This is one from Costco. The logo, you'd have to be a detective to find this, but the logo is slightly different. The real logo is italicized a bit, and this one is not, but the color scheme looks good, and you can see it's the from address is not the right one. But again, that's the fine print, right? And lots of people shop at Costco, so this one's one that people could fall for. Verizon Wireless, a whole host of scams on fake invoices. This one, it says there's a problem with the email sync failure, and this one's funny because sometimes I get these and they're from the admin, and I'm the admin, so I know they're fake. But it sounds like the kind of thing that, oh gosh, I've got 11 messages pending in a queue. I need to get those. They could be customer orders. You can see how people would be enticed to click on that. So things to look for: do you have an account? Why the urgency? All of these are delivered with some sense of urgency. Misspellings and grammar mistakes, not so much anymore. These are slick these days, but the logo might be a little off. You can hover over a link. Don't get curious and click on the links. That will cause a lot of harm. Check who the email is from. You can, in file properties, you can look at the email header. So it's full of a bunch of technical information, but you can see who it's really from versus what they put in. They can just type in from. It could be anything. Typo squatting, another thing to look out for. That's when a domain name is registered that's very close, like Google with 3 O's versus Google with 2 O's. I haven't seen examples of this particular one yet, but I know they're out there. Of, think of World Health Organization, CDC, a little letter, you wouldn't even see it because the font's so tiny, but you might think you're at the right website and you're not. Business compromise email, again, with employees remote, it's a little harder to just walk down the hall and say, hey, hey boss, did you ask me to do this wire transfer? Always, pick up the phone, talk to the person. Wire transfer scams are quite common. In this one, it was a spoofed domain name where they took, again, what N versus R. You could barely see it in there, but this Barbara Corcoran's office fell for this for $400,000. So this stuff happens. Brand impersonation, Microsoft and Apple are, in terms of the reports, those are the most impersonated brands for phishing emails, etc. But DocuSign, Chase, UPS. Right now, it's just shifted. It's World Health Organization, CDC, and other organizations like that. So brand impersonation, common tactic. Your team needs to be aware of it. The other thing, blackmail email. These circulate from time to time. These look really scary because it says it's from and the to will be your own email address, and they may pull up a password that you'll recognize. Again, they pull it off the dark web when LinkedIn has a breach every 2 years. Passwords get posted out there. Bad actors can get them. They can actually put it in an email to you that's spoofed to look like it's from you and says, I'm on your computer. And if look at the from address, this is a total fake. And we actually, when we saw a big round of this, we actually called some local police departments to make sure they were aware of it, because we had folks reporting to us that they went to the police and things got super scary when the police interpreted them as actual real threats. So just be aware, these are just common tricks. There'll probably be some of these floating around with the coronavirus. The undeliverable package, I guess, with people getting stuff shipped to them, packages, a lot of home deliveries right now, package delays, that's just one of the very, very common ones. And again, this is one that could be forwarded to somebody. Hey, I think this is the package you were waiting for. Somebody forwards it to somebody. They're getting it from a trusted source because it's a forward, and that can do a lot of harm. Fake FedEx has a whole bunch of fakes. One thing I want to point out, and this was actually on the Krebs on Security blog yesterday, that just because you see a website that has the SSL, people are trained to look for that green lock. Just because it has the green lock does not mean it's legit. It just means the traffic's encrypted. And the number of phishing attacks that have been hosted through HTTPS has just exponentially grown over the last couple of years. So keep that in mind, because that's something a lot of cybersecurity training will say, oh, well, when you see that green lock, you know it's good. It does not in any way mean the site itself is legit. It just means they put a security certificate on there and they're encrypted. So be extra careful about that. So kind of circulating it back to the news, trying to wrap up within the half-hour window here. I want to pull some data that's actually from Italy, and these are show the spike of phishing attacks in Italy. And this is just so sad because people are dying in Italy. They've really been hit hard by this coronavirus. And if you look at the monthly average in orange of regular cyber attacks, you can see a giant blue spike over the last month when this whole virus has been happening. So the bad actors just jumped upon this, and the number of threats have skyrocketed. We're going to see the same data here in the US as well. It's a big spike in malicious log events. So you could imagine a lot of folks connecting remotely. It's easier for the bad actors to kind of sneak in some activity, trying to break into an account. So that's something to watch out for as well. But we see the data is showing in Italy. This is happening all over the world, but this is extremely sad, but important to know. And the attack vector distribution, things can come in your email via an attached document. That would be a macro. It could be an Office exploit, a link to a malicious email, or just a malicious executable that's in there. But most reports now say 90% of attacks are coming through email. All right, so some simple next steps. I'm going to wrap up here. We're available anytime at info@icaro.com, or contact me directly, 978-692-4200 for any questions. But now kind of more than ever, you got to have a strong technology foundation, the firewall, the antivirus, et cetera. A simple acceptable use policy. Right now, realistically, people are going to have to work from home computers. But they should have screen locks, a basic understanding, a couple of bullets that you want to have. Ideal situation is that you have a fully protected work system at home. A lot of our community is bringing home laptops. They're fully protected. When you leave the office firewall, you're protected with Cisco umbrella on those, anything that's on managed service with us. So that's protecting you when you're outside of the four walls of your office firewall. Get real about strong passwords. That's always true all the time. Keep your technology up to date. Remember, reboot at least once a week. A lot of security patches require reboots. Think before you click. If you just want to get, just share some of those examples that we reviewed. Just making your users aware that these fake things exist. Making them aware that a green lock doesn't in any way mean a site is legit will drastically improve your security level just right there. So talk to your team about security, and keep in mind, in times of fear among people and just regular workflows have just been totally disrupted. Now people are far more susceptible to falling for some of these things. So just talk to your team, make folks aware of this, and that's going to go a very, very long way. We do have a formal training platform with some testing. We have some folks who are on that. A simple conversation is going to go a long way. If you want to do more formal, like weekly tips and tests and stuff like that, let us know. Okay, and then with that, whoops. That's my contact information. We're here to help in the community. We've been working nonstop. IT is considered an essential service, so we're fully operational. A lot of what we're doing is remote. And any questions you have, if you see anything unusual that you're not sure about, if you're concerned about users connecting in from home, or even if you just need a little, if you're on the VoIP system with us and you want to get the app set up so you can make outbound calls with your office caller ID, let us know. We can get that set up for you. Anybody in healthcare, municipalities, and nonprofits are eligible for emergency remote work kits from LogMeIn. So hope to hear from you. Connect on social media. We're 100% here for our community, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.